Joe Biden is known for making stuff up, and I mean, recently he's made a lot of stuff up. I outlined some of it last hour or the hour before. And some of the things that he's made up, he keeps embellishing this story about this house fire he had. He said it was a sunny Sunday, and then lightning came out of nowhere and went up through the air-conditioned ducts and started a fire and took out almost half the house, almost crumbled, almost killing his wife, his cat, and taking out a 67 Corvette. None of that's true. He said it was 15 years ago. It was 19 years ago. It was a small kitchen fire put out within 15 or 20 minutes. Nobody's life was in danger. He didn't lose half of his house, and he wasn't out of the house for months and months, like he said. So that didn't happen. Then, on the anniversary of 9/11, when I guess he wasn't allowed to be at Ground Zero or Washington, D.C. or Shanksville, he was in Alaska for some reason. And in Alaska, he said he went to Ground Zero the next day, which would be September 12th, and the smells, and it was disgusting. He couldn't believe he saw evil and blah, blah, blah. That didn't happen. He didn't go the next day. He was speaking on the Senate floor the next day. He actually went a week or so, we're told by John Kirby, with some contingent from the Congress. So he completely made that up. And he continues to make things up like there was some oil slick on his windshield in the morning when mom was taking him to school. We have checked through the annals of all the news for 100 years in the local newspaper in Wilmington. There is no report of oil on windshields because of the oil plants that were in Delaware or something. It's just not true. It didn't happen. But he keeps saying that it happened. And he keeps saying that it caused everybody in town to get cancer, which is very weird. Then he said he saw the bridge in Pennsylvania collapse. He didn't. He went there hours later, well after it collapsed. So that's not true either. He, of course, has told us he grew up in a Puerto Rican neighborhood. He grew up in the black church. He grew up a Catholic. And I think yesterday he said he grew up in the synagogues in Pennsylvania. I mean, maybe the Catholic part's true. None of the other stuff is. Of course, he's told us that he was arrested with Nelson Mandela in South Africa. Oh, and he was one of the early adopters and early marchers in the civil rights movement, which is also not true. Well, here's the latest one. Biden said, quote, "Democracy is at stake, folks. Our democracy is under attack, and we got to fight for it. I taught at the University of Pennsylvania for 4 years, and I used to teach political theory. And folks, you always hear every generation has to fight for democracy, and I found myself, it's automatic. We didn't have to believe it, but we do. We do." Just didn't happen. Again, honorary professor for 2 years, not 4. No record of him ever teaching a class, and earlier reports have all said he made him about $1 million to do so. So none of what he just said is true. But for some reason, he has to go there every time. He has to make the audience believe that he somehow was the linchpin, the impetus, the start of, the guy who instigated the best things that have ever happened on earth. Or he was somehow part of the worst disasters. And this guy, honestly, you think this will be the nominee next year? Come on.